Okay. Now I'll read the first paragraph.
I really wasn't a liar. I just had my time sense a little off. That's it. All right, so we're back in the first edition on page 236. I think this is where we're reading anyway. 236 in the first edition, 254 in the second edition.
Sit quietly and look upon the world you see, and tell yourself, the real world is not like this. It has no buildings, and there are no streets where people walk alone and separate. There are no stores where people buy an endless list of things they do not need. It is not lit with artificial light, and night comes not upon it. There is no day that brightens and grows dim. There is no loss. Nothing is there but shines, and shines forever. Okay, now what this is referring to here in this paragraph is when even this disappears in a sense. Of course, all of this line would have to disappear. And then you're right before the gates of heaven, right here. I'm not going to even try to put it in, because at that point you know that there's no limitation on your mind, there's no limitation at all. You're in a state, like Jesus is, where there's total oneness. And perhaps somewhere in the distance, you can see or hear that people believe there's something else going on, but you know that there's no buildings, there's no streets, but there's only shining oneness. All right? That means that you're at this point somewhere in a diagram. We can't, I have to say here, but it's not here. It's in a state where you have totally let go of everything. And when you, even at that point, when you know you're not even a body. So, for example, Jesus knows he's not a body. People think he's a body. They identify him as a body. But he knows that he's one with God. And as it says in the Course, he's gone beyond all learning. All right, and that's what this is talking about. There's no streets, there's no lights, there's no buildings, there's no people, because you know that there's only oneness and nothing besides that oneness. And so the entire duality has slipped away forever. All right, and this, of course, is the goal where it talks about when God will take the last step and lift you onto himself. All right, so that this even disappears. All right.
Yeah. When you understand it this way, then it becomes clear how you can't have a right mind, because right mind implies a wrong mind. And there is no wrong mind. There's that important section at the beginning of chapter 18 called the substitute reality, which describes how the world was made in the fragmentation over and over again, and the projection, etc. And the substitute reality is really the world and special love which we made as a substitute for heaven and God's love. And after the description of the making of the world, Jesus talks about how all these little substitutes are like little feathers. And what you do is just let them go, and just let them kind of waft away, and they'll blow away. And they have no substance. All the things that we feel are so powerful in this world, sin and guilt and attack in the body and suffering and pain and death, etc. All of them will go. So as Gloria was saying, when you're in the real world, you are still dimly aware of all these kind of little feathers, which really represent the entire physical universe and the whole expanse of time and space, billions of years. But they're all like little feathers that just kind of float away, and they have absolutely no effect on you. You're dimly aware of them because you're still within the mind of the sonship. But you know again that the dream is an illusion. It's like these feathers. And everything that seemed to be so real and to have such substance and be so heavy and so solid and so painful, all are gone. So that what is described here is literally the awareness that everything in this world is a dream, and you are not part of that dream. And it just kind of fades and fades away. It's not done in a temporal sequence. We're not talking about a dimension of time and space. It seems to be something which occurs over a long period of time. That's part of the dream. When you're outside the dream, there is literally no time. There's no body, as we said before, because there's no space, and there's no time. There's no world. One of Helen's poems, which is a beautiful expression of the real world, ends. There was a world, but it has disappeared. There was a world, but there is only God. That's the state of the real world. When you know it, as the Course uses that word know, you know as a fact that the world has disappeared and all that's left is God. And that you are part of that love and that oneness, but so is everyone else that still believes that they're in the dream.